I've discussed about the deforming force as well as what is elasticity, what is plastic or elastic, and what is internal force. All these things I have discussed in the last class. Let me review what I have done. A solid can be compressed. You apply a force, a large force, it can be compressed. That means it get deformed or it can be extended by applying a large force. Okay, now suppose there is a rod is fixed at one end. Apply a force, the rod can be bent. That is bending. Or if there is a rod, I can apply a force. This is called force in this direction. This is called twisting. I can twist the rod and you can stretch it by applying a force, longitudinal force. Right? Any body can be what? Bent or twisted or extended. Therefore, a solid shape can be altered. A solid shape can be altered at slight degree by applying a large force. Therefore, a body is said to be perfectly elastic. When you can call elastic, it springs back to its original position. Right? It springs back to original position is called perfectly elastic. That means when you become spring back to its original position, as soon as you remove the external force, this is called deforming force. What is deforming force? Which changes its shape. Or the twisted body come back to the original once you remove the torque. That means this is twisting force is also called torque. Once torque is removed. That means the property of matter which enable it to spring back its original shape and size when deforming force is removed called, what is called? It's called resilience. R-E-S-I, resilience. That is spring back its to original position. No material is, however, it's perfectly elastic. Okay. Now, Robert Hooke discovered the fundamental law relating the deformation and deforming force. What is deformation? What causes the deformation and deforming force? His law states that the deformation is proportional to deforming force. That is, change in shape or size depends upon the deforming force. Later, Thomas Young gave the definite physical concept on this. Therefore, this deformation is also called change in form. Change in form or deforming force. Deforming force. Therefore, he renamed and he stated as a Hooke's law. I'll tell you what is Hooke's law. When a body is deformed, look, whenever a body is deformed, this is the original body. You are applying a force, the body get deformed. This is applied force or external force. There is an internal force is sets in. This force tends to restore its body to the original condition. The restoring force, that means the restoring force per unit area is called stress. It is a measure of applied force per unit area. Try to understand this. This is called, what is exactly stress? Everybody say stress is what? Force per unit area, applied force. But is equal to the restoring force per unit area is called force. Therefore, what is stress? Stress is called restoring force per unit area. Therefore, what is stress? This is general reference. Internal restoring force per unit area. Force is what? Newton areas per meter square or Newton per meter square area. Therefore, what will represent what is that? The restoring force is equal and opposite to the applied force. Therefore, stress is measure of applied force. In most of the textbook, they write stress is a measure of applied force per unit area. Right? This is the exact version. Okay. Now, I will tell you what happens when a wire or a rod of length L, suppose L0 is the original length, if I apply a force, if I stretch it, if I keep adding a load means if I keep adding a weight, what happens? That we are going to study. Therefore, stretching of wire, I will discuss in the next class.